An entitled old jerk steals stuff out of my trunk, all as some kind of weird life lesson about how some criminal could steal out of my car when I'm not looking. And I'm honestly so exhausted dealing with my nosy, entitled neighbors that I really hope I don't deal with them ever again. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, we got a new fridge yesterday, and it's one of those humongous double-door monstrosities. And of course, it came with a humongous amount of styrofoam and cardboard, all of which that I need to get rid of. And the quickest way for me to get rid of it is shoving it in my car and driving it over to the municipal waste depot. So I started cutting things apart and bringing them to my car, which is parked in my driveway. Unfortunately, it's so much trash that I have to go 5 times to my car. I go on the first trip, open my car's trunk, and I load it up. And for the sake of convenience, I leave the trunk open. Yes, it's right next to the sidewalk, but I live in a pretty safe area, and I'm only loading trash. So if anyone wants to help themselves to styrofoam, then sure, why not? Go for it. I go back inside and bring the next 2 loads out and into my car, and on my third trip, some old entitled jerk stands next to my car. Now, I don't know him, and he probably doesn't know me, but he's in my driveway and right next to my car. So seemingly, he's interested in talking to the owner of said car, which is unfortunately me. The next time I approach my car with both my hands full of styrofoam, I say out loud, "Excuse me," and then I shove it into my trunk. This old entitled guy then starts asking me if this is my car, but after I tell him that it is, he then immediately launches into a tirade about how I must be crazy leaving it open and whether I want to invite criminals into the neighborhood and how irresponsible I am. I respond by saying, "I don't care about your opinion and I need you to get off my property." And I yell this at him, and I honestly just don't even wait for him to reply, but instead storm back inside to get the last bits of plastic wrap. For the last time, I get back to my car, and this old entitled jerk is thankfully missing, but also so is a big piece of styrofoam from my trunk. And this was the base plate that the fridge stood on, which is basically the largest and most unwieldy piece of them all. Now, I was asking myself, did this old entitled jerk take it? I look around for a while thinking that he might have thrown it somewhere, but no, it's definitely gone. Well, my partner and I shrug, we get into the car and drive to the depot. On our way back from there, my wife and I go for lunch and shop some groceries. And all in all, we were gone for almost 2 hours. But the moment we come home and step out of my car, this old entitled jerk storms across the street with a missing styrofoam piece in hand, and he is visibly angry at me for some reason. He then immediately tries to go off at me by ranting about how he's now taught me a lesson about keeping my car locked, and that I should be lucky that it was only him and not some actual criminal, and that I'm getting my property back. Well, once again, I tell him to leave my property, and also that I will call the police if I ever see him on here ever again. He says he's happy to never talk to me again once I take back what is mine, but I reply that I'm not taking that piece back, and I suggest he stick it right up his rear end. And at this point, he says the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. He threatens to call the police on me for not taking the styrofoam back that he stole out of my car. So I put my hands on my hips, and I tell him I would gladly tell the police about how I just had some stuff stolen from my car, and that the perpetrator was right here. Well, he huffs and puffs, and then throws the styrofoam to my feet and stomps off like a little toddler. And honestly, I'm so sick of my neighbor, and I really hope I never deal with him ever again. Wow, this idiot is completely out of line. First of all, it is just styrofoam that he took out of your car, and I think you have the right idea of basically saying, yeah, whatever, if someone steals it, fine, I don't give a crap. But for this guy to walk on your property, lecture you about putting stuff in your car, and then steal from you to try and teach you a lesson, all while complaining that there are criminals in the area, is honestly the stupidest thing I've ever seen. This guy literally is the criminal in this scenario. He's complaining about himself in a way that's just so weird. So honestly, I kind of wish that you did call the police on this guy, because you literally have evidence right in front of you. And seriously, what is with this guy being like, oh, you got taught a lesson today, look at you? It's like, dude, you're not teaching someone a lesson. I don't know you. You literally stole stuff out of my car regardless of what it is, under the guise that a criminal could do this, but you are the criminal in this scenario. It's honestly so stupid, and I just can't stand people like this, where they have this weird sense of like, oh, I'm so much better than you and I'm so much wiser than you. So yeah, this guy was completely out of line, and hopefully you don't have to deal with him ever again. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for not paying my parents' mortgage after my sister moved into their house, despite the fact that my parents said they wanted to sell that house and give me a larger portion of the sale? Because right now they're saying I'm betraying the family, and at this point I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. For the past 8 years, I've been paying my parents' property taxes and mortgage. They are retired and have very little retirement savings because they put all their money into my sister and I's education. We both went to top universities universities and found successful jobs afterwards. I felt like I owed my parents for all they sacrificed for me, so it was a no-brainer to help them retire with no financial stress. My parents did not consult my sister about splitting these costs with me, and instead, the agreement was that I would get a larger share of the house. Fast forward to now, and my sister unfortunately lost her job last year, and as a result, doesn't have much savings. And she even had to move in with my parents to save money while she looks for a job. I then recently found out that my sister pitched staying permanently in my parents' house, and my parents agreed. Now, I was furious at this, because I had been paying for the house with the understanding that it would be sold, and I would get a larger share of it. It is very likely that my sister never sells the house, and instead raises her eventual family there. Because the original agreement with my parents changed, I stopped paying for the mortgage, leaving it up to my sister to take care of it if she's really taking over the house. My parents are furious with me, saying I'm too money obsessed and should be continuing to help the family, while my sister is in a tough spot still looking for a job. Instead, they are promising that eventually my sister will pay me out of my share of the house, plus whatever else I contributed over 8 years. Now, I turned that offer down because there's no guarantee that this will happen, and I don't trust my sister to follow through financially. Now, I may be the jerk for taking such a cynical stance and leaving my family in financial stress, but I feel like I was already burned once through verbal agreements and I don't want to get burned again. What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk at all. This honestly is so stupid it's not even funny. You mean to tell me that they went back on a verbal agreement and basically still want you to help pay for it? It's like, wait a second, you're only doing that so you can make money off the sale of the house. Why should you still have to step up and be like, sure, I'll take care of it while also having no equity in it? Like, this is a perfect example as to why you need everything in writing. If it's not in writing, then congratulations, it never happened in my opinion. So no, you're not the jerk for not wanting to do this, because if I was in your shoes, I would feel the exact same way. An entitled jerk gives my phone number out just so he doesn't get calls from realtors. So I decided to get some revenge by not only finding this entitled jerk's information, but also giving down his new current phone number so that all these phone calls could finally come to an end. Here's what happened. About 3 or 4 years ago, I started getting spam calls from realtors looking for someone by the name of Roy. They spammed me for a week or two and then it stopped. Eventually, I forgot about it and then I moved on. But every once in a while, I would get another one. Every time it was about Roy selling property in a state on the opposite side of the country. Now, instead of telling the caller off like usual, I talked to them one night. They were happy to give me Roy's full name and the address of the property he kept dangling for sale. So I looked him up, and he had been using my phone number on all the real estate websites just so he didn't get bothered with calls. Eventually, the calls went away and I forgot about it again. But about 2 months ago, they started back up again. I remembered where I had written down Roy's info, and I checked him again for an updated phone number. This time, I lucked out and found his real cell phone. I considered texting him to stop giving out my number, but I didn't want to deal with some crotchety old man who thought he was getting one over on a stranger. The very next day, I got yet another phone call with an out-of-state area code. I said to him, "Oh, you're looking for Roy? Hang on a second, let me give you his phone number." And then I recited his phone number to the caller. The person on the line then asked me if I was related to Roy, but I responded by saying, "Nope, I've never met the man, or even been to that city. I live about 3,000 miles away, but that jerk has been giving out my phone number for 4 years." So I did some research and I found him. They responded by saying, "I don't know what you do for a living, but you should really be an investigator." I thanked him and I said, "Would you mind updating your system with that phone number instead?" And they said that they would, while also thanking me for being so nice about this. But after that, I never got another call again, and honestly, for the sake of my sanity, I am incredibly relieved. That is a really crappy thing to do. Instead of putting down your real number, you give out someone else's fake number. Like, if that happened to me, I would be furious. Like, I would be so annoyed. Who wants to be bothered with stuff that literally has nothing to do with you? So good for you for hunting this guy down, because the fact that he dragged you into his mess is honestly so unfair. Would I be the jerk if I kicked my sister-in-law out of my wedding after she has literally done nothing to help out? Because right now I'm incredibly frustrated and I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 28-year-old female and I'm getting married to my fiance in the spring of 2025. His sister initially requested to be in the wedding as she wanted to be a bridesmaid. Since the wedding festivities have begun, she has seemed extremely uninterested in being involved in any capacity. She joined in the bachelorette trip, but didn't help in planning, setting, or cleaning up. She also didn't want to get the bridesmaid, which is after my matron and maid of honor followed up with her numerous times. But finally, I got involved and she purchased the dress. But of course, it was 10 weeks after everyone else. She also didn't attend the bridal shower planning meeting, nor has she asked any of my bridesmaids what she can do to help. She has also been uncommunicative with all of the bridesmaids and won't respond to to text messages for days or even weeks at a time, and when she finally does respond, there's always an excuse of why she can't do something or couldn't respond. And now she's informed everyone in the bridal party and my fiance, but not me of course, that she isn't attending the bridal shower because she's going to another bachelorette trip. Everyone has known the bridal shower date for months, and seeing as this is my future sister-in-law, it is honestly a slap in the face. It also might be important to note that her husband is a groomsman and has gone above and beyond with helping and planning outings for my fiance and his groomsmen. Her 2 daughters under the age of 2 years old are supposed to be the flower girls as well. I just feel like her presence and attitude thus far has really put a damper and strain on our wedding, which is supposed to be a happy experience. I also don't want to ruin our relationship, but I'm honestly at my wit's end. So seriously, would I be the jerk if I kick my sister-in-law out of my wedding party? Because right now I'm incredibly frustrated. Okay, to start things out, I don't think that you would be the jerk for kicking her out, but I also think you need to realize that if you do that, this will come with negative consequences. I really think if you do this, it will cause a lot of drama in the family, and this will only create a divide that you will probably have no idea how to fix. And sure, obviously discuss this with your fiance first, but taking this step, in my opinion, is one of those where it's like, okay, there's no going back from this, because then her husband and the kids are going to be out of this wedding party, and there's a chance that none of them will show up. So for me, if I was in your shoes, I would just kind of grit my teeth and bear it and be like, okay, whatever, she's not going to be here and I'm not going to waste my time involving her. Because it really sounds like everyone's reached out to try and get her involved. You've called her, you've texted her, you've tried to see if she can be involved, and honestly, she's not communicating. So if I was in your shoes, I would just move forward without her. And sure, she can stay as a bridesmaid if she wants, but you can guarantee that she's staying at the end of the line. Like, she's going to be a bridesmaid in name only, because the way she's acting is just completely inappropriate. So no, you wouldn't be the jerk if you did kick her out, but in my opinion, this really will set things off in a terrible manner. Am I the jerk for saying no to babysitting on my birthday for my best friend who is basically demanding that I travel to Puerto Rico and watch her kid while she goes out and has fun? Because right now she's not talking to me, and at this point I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, I'm a 40-year-old female, and I have a supposed best friend who's also 40, and we've been friends ever since we were 15. I have been a mom for 23 years, including my pivotal time where I should have been living my life and having fun, but also being kid-free. She just had a kid at 35. She is single and still lives at home with parents, who, by the way, provide everything financially to her and the kid. My birthday was this past weekend, and I'm at a stage in my life where I can celebrate my birthday without kids without being mom. Well, my former best friend announced that she was going to Puerto Rico that same weekend, and she said, well, why don't you come with us? Meaning her and her kids. And her reasoning to go was so that she could get some action, if you know what I mean. In fact, her reasoning for inviting me was so that I can watch her kid while she goes and does whatever she wants. Well, I respectfully declined, saying that I had other plans, which I did for a whole month prior to this conversation. Once I said that, she got mad at me because I wouldn't spend $1,300 just in travel and room alone to spend my birthday babysitting her kid. Meanwhile, I've never asked her to watch any of my kids for the entirety of our friendship for any reason, period. The entire friendship of 25 years went down in a downward spiral from there, literally in a matter of a week. This got so bad that she was mad at me that I was working and driving 3 hours out of town and I didn't respond to her. She also sent me nasty pictures in regard to a legitimate award that I won for videography. Well, my birthday came along and she didn't even tell me happy birthday. In fact, she's saying that she's out there living her best life while also posting pictures from Puerto Rico. So seriously, am I the jerk for refusing to watch her kids and somehow setting boundaries? Because honestly, I don't know what to do. No, you're not the jerk. This is so incredibly intrusive. You mean to tell me that she wanted you to come along to Puerto Rico so that she could have some kind of babysitter while she went out into the night to try and sleep around? Like, what is going on right now? That is honestly insane. At that point, just leave your kid at home and hire a babysitter, because it's clear that she was just trying to use you in this situation. So no, you're not the jerk at all, and honestly, this lady is incredibly entitled, and I don't blame you for stepping away in the slightest. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for telling my mom that if her boyfriend of 3 months and his kid move in, then we are moving out, because things are cramped as it is, and this situation is absolutely not fair. Here's what happened. So my mom and dad had me at a very young age. My mom was 17 and my dad was 19. It was pretty tough, especially back in the day, but we all made it work somehow. But when I was 12 years old, my dad got a heart attack and passed away, and it then just left me and my mom. Ever since my dad, she has had 2 serious guys, but it never worked out because she always said that no one can compare to your dad. Well, that is until now. At this point, I am married, and my mom mom lives up at the coast in a very small town, the kind where the only shop for groceries is a small convenience store. My husband and I got into some financial issues, and my mom said that we should move in with her so that we can get back on our feet. Now, I was skeptical at first because it is obviously not ideal, but my mom, with her kind heart, said to me, I can see that you feel bad about it. Don't feel bad. Life is hard enough, and parents are there to lift their children up and catch them when they fall. You need to come back home and regroup and gather back strength, so life is not that hard on you. Now, my mom lives in a small coast property that she rents, and it's the type of place that looks like a one-bedroom cabin from the outside. Well, it's a 3-bedroom and 1 bathroom, and the walls are thin. The Wi-Fi is rocky because of the coast and all the wind, and my husband works remotely in IT, so it's definitely not ideal, but we are making it work. Well, we have been here for about 20 days now, and it was going good, and it honestly felt like a dream. But yesterday, my mom calls me. A guy she dated last year proposed to her, and she hasn't given an answer yet. But she told him and his 16-year-old that they are welcome to move in. A couple hours after that, she came back home all excited, but the smile quickly faded when I started asking questions. And this was nothing unreasonable, just the logical ones that got our heads spinning, like, okay, how could you ask him to move in after one phone call of catching up after 3 months of dating a year before? How are we going to live here? She then got defensive, and I tried explaining that I'm just worried about her, and it all feels a bit impulsive. A few hours of everyone just keeping out of each other's faces, my mom came to me asking if I would take a ride with her to the convenience store. On the road, she asked me if I was really just worried about her, and I said to her, of course, you are my mom, and it would have been the same if the roles were reversed. Then she asked me and said, well, what do you want me to say? I responded by saying, I want you to say you didn't just do something that impulsive without giving it some kind of thought. She then said to me, it is my house. You are not going to be dictating what is allowed and who is allowed in my home. I responded by saying, I agree, but you invited your daughter and son-in-law to come and live with you in an already cramped space to help us, and not even 20 days later, you want to move a man in with his 16-year-old son, and after only 3 months of dating the previous year, and then you come to us to inform us about it? I'm not saying that you should have asked permission, but a discussion would have been kind. Well, from there on, it was total silence from the convenience store to back home. When I got home, I told my husband what happened, and he said I better go ask forgiveness for speaking so out of line. He said to me, you can't tell a grown woman what to do. She raised you by herself, and we can't expect her to put her life on hold for us, even if a discussion would have been the right thing to do. Well, I thought about it a while, and I decided that he was right. It was out of line, and so I apologized, but it did not go as I thought it would. She said to me, it's kind of you to apologize, but it wasn't necessary. You just expressed your worry, and I have to respect that because you are my daughter. But he is special, and I'm not going to rescind my offer, and I will not ask for permission. If he wants to come, then he is coming, and that's that. Well, I just stood there completely dumbfounded. How could she be so obtuse about it, and not even understand that she is putting us in an uncomfortable situation as well? So I just said, that's fine. You can make your own decisions in life, but we cannot all live here. And so if they move in, we will move out. It really would be the best thing for all of us. She then said to me, oh, come on, honey, you're being a bit rash now. You don't need to move out, and we will make it work. You need to sort out your things. I said to her, no, Mom, it's not rash. We cannot all live here. If the house was bigger, it would be different. But 5 people in a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom cabin is a bit much and unrealistic if you really think it will work. My husband also needs to work. And also, where will he work? She then said to me, maybe you both need to just think about this some more and then get back to me. And that was that. Ever since then, my mom is acting like nothing happened, and she's just going on as usual. Now, it's important to note that I've never met this man or his child. In fact, I never even knew his name until this all came up. And when she called me all excited and she said Mike proposed, it then left me stating the obvious. Okay, but who is Mike? So seriously, am I just being an ungrateful child and being a jerk towards my mom? I just feel like this entire plan is too strange, because right now I don't know what to do. No, I don't think you're the jerk at all. This is honestly so weird, because the first question through my head is, why would your mom do this to you? She is literally leaving you in such a bad situation where it's like, okay, we already moved once, and now less than a month later, we're probably gonna have to move again. She literally made you uproot your life, and it's like, okay, why would you do that if you were gonna just be so willing to let someone else move into this small cabin? So no, you're not the jerk at all, because honestly, I would do the exact same thing and definitely move out, because what she's saying is completely unreasonable. My entitled father-in-law is absolutely useless, and it is so frustrating, especially considering that his wife is about to have a serious knee surgery that requires her to do little to nothing until she gets better. And we're honestly so frustrated that right right now we don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, my idiotic father-in-law's wife of many years is about to have a serious knee surgery, and they are both in their early 70s. She will be entirely out of action for a few months, and it's imperative for her recovery that she does not lift or even try to walk much for much of that time. Now, we are having to plan how they are going to survive this time, and we're going to have to plan their food, their cleaning, laundry, and even working out their sleeping arrangements, because the fully fit and theoretical capable father-in-law is entirely and completely incompetent. He can't and honestly won't cook or clean or do laundry or even get off his backside to help his wife move around. He is entirely disinterested in the entire thing, has not listened to a word the consultant or we have told him about how important this is, and has taken no proactive steps to prepare. We're seriously considering having her move in with us so we can actually look after her during her recovery, as we know that left alone with him, she will have to be the one to be doing the dishes and cooking dinner by about day 3, and that she'll end up worse off than without the surgery at all. I just can't imagine being so intentionally useless, especially towards your own wife. Yeah, that father-in-law is really dumb. If he cared about his wife, he would step up and do what needs to be done. But instead, he's kind of being lazy and almost intentionally incompetent. Like, I wouldn't blame you if you moved her into your house so that you guys can actually take care of her, because what you described is something I could absolutely see happening. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.